In Dad's office, the air smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. The blinds were half closed, slicing the room into pale stripes. My father didn't look at me when he picked up the document. He flicked it across the desk like it was trash. It hit my chest and slid to the floor. My mother laughed. Not nervous. Not forced. A light, amused laugh like someone had just told a clever joke. She took the pen from Dad's hand, signed her name slowly and said, "Go to jail for us. I'm Caleb Hartman, their only son." And in that moment I realized how easy it was for them to say it. I bent down and picked up the papers. Fraud charges. Corporate liability. My name printed cleanly at the bottom, already filled in. All they needed was my signature to make me the fall guy for years of their decisions. Dad finally looked up. His jaw was tight, eyes sharp. "This is family," he said like it explained everything. My flaw has always been wanting things to stay calm. Wanting peace. Even when it costs me. I felt my mouth go dry. The office clock ticked loud enough to feel like it was inside my head. Mom crossed her arms, smiling, already relieved. "You're young," she added. "You'll recover." I picked up the pen. But I didn't sign. Instead, I noticed something small in the document margins, something they clearly hadn't read. And that's when I understood who really held the risk. Dad leaned back in his leather chair, the chair that still had a faint crack along the arm from when I was a kid, and he slammed it during an argument with a client. I remembered hiding under the desk that day, counting dust bunnies to stay calm. Old habits don't die. They just get quieter. "Don't overthink it," he said, tapping the desk. "Lawyers already handled the rest." That's when I realized something else. This wasn't a request. It was choreography. They had rehearsed this moment without me. I scanned the document again, slower this time. The language was dense, designed to blur meaning. But one clause caught my eye. A contingency paragraph buried near the back, written in careful, almost polite legal phrasing. If the signer cooperated fully, all internal communications would be subject to disclosure. Internal communications. Emails. Memos. Recorded calls. My mother stood and straightened a framed photo behind Dad's desk. Our family at a beach I barely remembered enjoying. "You always were the responsible one," she said, not looking at me. "This is why we trust you." Trust. Another word they used like a tool. I asked quietly, "Have you both read page 12? Dad's fingers stilled. Just for a second. Mom turned around, her smile not quite landing this time. "Why?" I didn't answer. I folded the document neatly instead, the paper suddenly heavy in my hands. The clock kept ticking. And for the first time they weren't sure what move came next. Dad stood up too fast. The chair scraped against the floor, a sharp sound that cut through the room. He reached for the document, but I pulled it back toward my chest without thinking. My heart was beating harder than I wanted to admit. "Give that here," he said. His voice wasn't loud. That was worse. I shook my head. Just once. Small. Careful. The way I used to say no when I was a kid and hoped it wouldn't turn into a fight. Mom sighed like I'd disappointed her over something minor. "Caleb, don't make this dramatic. Everyone signs things they don't like." I glanced at the bookshelf behind Dad. Law books. Awards. A tiny brass scale of justice that had always felt ironic to me. I asked, "If this is so clean, why does it say full disclosure of internal correspondence only applies to the signer?" Silence stretched. Dad's jaw flexed. Mom's fingers tightened around her purse strap. "That's standard," Dad said too quickly. "It's not," I replied. My voice surprised me. Steadier than I felt. I could almost hear my younger self begging me not to escalate. Keep the peace. Take the hit. But something had shifted. Maybe it was the word jail. Maybe it was how easily they'd laughed. I slid the document back across the desk, unsigned. "I'll need my own lawyer," I said. Mom's face went cold. Dad's eyes darkened. And that's when he said the one thing that proved I was never meant to walk out free. Dad's voice dropped. Calm. Controlled. The tone he used in courtrooms when he wanted juries to trust him. "If you bring in your own lawyer," he said, "you're admitting guilt." That landed heavier than shouting ever could. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice like this was advice, not a threat. "Think about what people will say, Caleb. The headlines don't care about details. They'll see your name. Not ours." I looked at them, really looked. The confidence in Dad's posture. The way Mom already seemed to be planning dinner. This was never about protecting me. It was about containment. I asked, "So if I don't sign, what happens?" Dad walked around the desk slowly, like he was circling a witness stand. "Then we stop protecting you," he said. "We let the investigation go where it wants." Protecting me. From what they had built. I felt something crack, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough to let air in. I noticed how the office felt smaller now. How the ticking clock wasn't loud anymore. Just precise. I need a copy, I said. To review. Mom scoffed. What? You already know what's right. Dad hesitated. Just a beat too long. Then he slid a single-page copy toward me. Not the full document. Just the signature page. That's when I knew. They weren't afraid of me refusing to sign. They were afraid of me reading everything. I didn't argue. That surprised them. I took the single page, folded it once, and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Dad watched my hands like a hawk, his instincts finally catching up. Mom tilted her head, studying my face as if looking for the old version of me, the one who apologized just to end conversations. I'll be back, I said. Tomorrow. Dad exhaled through his nose. This doesn't leave this room. I met his eyes. You already let it. The drive out of the parking garage felt unreal. The concrete walls echoed every sound, engine, turn signal, breath. I sat in my car for a long moment before turning the key, hands resting on the steering wheel like it might steady me. Instead of going home, I drove to the only place I could think clearly, the public records office downtown. Fluorescent lights. Dusty binders. No one who cared who my father was. I requested filings connected to the company. Routine stuff. Boring stuff. That's when I found it. An amendment filed 6 months earlier. Quiet. Almost invisible. It shifted liability in the event of internal misconduct to a designated operational proxy. A role created just for appearances. My name was already listed. No signature required. I sat there staring at the page, my reflection faint in the glass tabletop. They hadn't needed my consent. The document in Dad's office wasn't protection, it was insurance. For them. And as I stood to leave, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. We told your uncle you agreed. That's when I realized, they'd already started without me. I didn't reply to Mom's text. I just sat there, phone face down on the table, listening to the hum of the lights. For the first time all day no one was talking at me. That silence felt earned. I drove to my apartment and opened my laptop. My flaw showed up again. I almost convinced myself to sleep on it. Almost told myself I was overreacting. Instead, I opened a new email and typed a name I hadn't contacted in years. Mark Delaney, a corporate defense attorney I'd met once during an internship. He'd been kind in a way that didn't ask for loyalty. I sent him the amendment. 10 minutes later my phone rang. Did they tell you were already listed? He asked. No. He laughed once. No humor in it. Then you're not the fall guy. You're the anchor. He explained it carefully. If charges moved forward, prosecutors would start with me. But that clause Dad tried to hide? It meant cooperation didn't just open emails, it opened decision chains. Who approved what? Who benefited? Your parents thought control was protection, Mark said. But control leaves fingerprints. I leaned back against the counter, staring at the dark window. My reflection looked older than this morning. What do I do? I asked. You don't rush, he said. You wait for them to push. As if on cue my phone lit up again. Dad this time. Come in early tomorrow. Investigators are asking questions. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because for the first time the timing wasn't theirs anymore. I waited in the hallway, staring at a framed mission statement I'd walked past 100 times without reading. Words like integrity and accountability printed in confident blue ink. They felt heavier now. The door stayed closed longer than I expected. When it finally opened, Mom came out first. Her shoulders were stiff, her purse clutched like a shield. She didn't look at me. Dad followed, slower. Smaller somehow. The consultant stayed behind. Dad stopped a few feet away. For the first time his voice wasn't certain. You didn't have to do it like this. I nodded. You didn't either. That was all there was to say. Outside, the morning light was sharp and cold. My phone buzzed. Mark again. The company would survive, barely. The investigation would continue, properly this time. My name was being removed from the proxy roll, officially and publicly. But here's the thing, Mark added. You're clean. They're not. I ended the call and sat in my car without starting it. My hands trembled just a little. I let them. Later that afternoon, I emailed my resignation. One sentence. No explanation. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. That night, Mom left a voicemail. She said, "We did everything for you." I didn't call back. Because the truth, the quiet, undeniable truth, was this. For the first time in my life, I wasn't protecting them. I was finally choosing myself.